This is The Author's Perspective. Tap, a show set to take you behind the scenes of some of your favorite books. We will be delving into deeper conversations and let you get to know different authors whilst discussing some of the social issues affecting them. We are RM Publishers. Join us as we take you on this literary journey. Let's step right into it.
Hi, Christina. Welcome to the author's perspective. How are you?
Hi, Rudolph. It's good to be here. I'm fine, thank you.
It's great to be joined by you. How is the weather where you are? It's cold here.
Well, we've had a hailstorm, but it's sunny now.
Yeah.
So, you know how it is, the British temperature changes simultaneously. So, yeah,
Get seasons in one day.
absolutely. You get four seasons in one day.
So how's the writing going?
The writing is going well.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it is going well. Thank you.
good. And you just released a new book recently. Is it called Hitherto?
Yes, it's called Hitherto.
Congratulations on your new book. Would you like maybe first of all tell our listeners who you are and what you do and what inspired you to write Hitherto?
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Christina Chitenderu. I'm a social worker by profession, and I do write as well. I started my writing journey in 2012.
Mhm.
And my first two books were family life books, one about parenting and the other one about marriage. And my recently published book is fiction, but based on real life events. Which is entitled Hitherto.
Okay. And do you want to give us a bit of a background of what Hitherto is about?
Well, Hitherto is the topic. Starting from the topic, I had to choose a topic that is open ended because this was my first fiction book and I wanted to throw in anything that I want. But the book Hitherto focuses on migration issues, particularly the difficulties and challenges that faced by undocumented migrants, or some may call them illegal migrants.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Yes. So hitherto it means up to here. What it is a story of a young girl and her struggles with migration, trying to look for greener pastures in other countries. In another country after her own country was going through economic crisis.
Right, as we do.
Of course.
So, um, I'm guessing this character was inspired by some of the events that either you yourself or someone that you know has been through.
Yes, coming from Zimbabwe, you know that Zimbabwe dreamed of milk and honey, and things were abundant, and we had a good education system, we had a very good health system, everything was functional until the land reform program happened, when the economic crisis started, when obviously the sanctions were imposed on the nations. And a lot of commotion happened in terms of people panicking as to, okay, what is going to happen to our future? And the most immediate action that people took was to seek refuge or seek greener pastures in other countries. But we do have different types of migrants. We do have those who are educated, who migrate under the skilled professionals in other countries. So those ones are a bit different from the people who do not have good qualifications,
Mm.
but they still want to pursue a new life. So I've lived in different countries before, where I have witnessed things happening to migrants. I will speak mostly from the Zimbabwean perspective. We had different types of migrants. Some are professionals and some are not. So my book touches, as it focuses on the people who are undocumented, because in most cases these discriminated, they're the people who are discriminated. Things that I have witnessed where, because you are in a country without legal documents, the society tends to assume and to stereotype you as a person, which puts you at a disadvantage in terms of even achieving the basic things in life. And this continues to happen in most countries where people are migrating without proper documentation, or they have overstayed their legal stay and they feel that going back home is not an option because they do not have an opportunity. So I'll give an example. I worked in Namibia in 2008. Between 2006 to 2010. So in 2008, I was in Windhoek, and there were young girls who used to, very beautiful young girls who used to sell airtime. So they would go to buy airtime in bulk and stand in the main road in town, in the city center, and they would be standing there selling their airtime. When I was discussing how courageous those young girls were, in terms of they are young people, they could easily go into choose to do other things to get money, but they were not. They humbled themselves and tried to do things that are legal to gain a living. But as I was conversing with other people, they said, but they give us a bad name because we don't want to be associated as poor. We don't want to be associated as struggling. But in my mind, I was taken aback, because in my mind, I felt that they are human beings who have left their countries not out of their will. The fact that they don't have documentation, they don't have professions that are on their backs to support them. It means that their push is vulnerability, really, and they're trying to make an honest living. I was really taken aback, and this is a fellow Zimbabwean who is saying that because they have a higher post, they have a better post in that country. So I felt that people who are undocumented are discriminated upon by the host country as well as fellow countrymen because of the social status. So which is something that affects me a lot, because Hitherto focuses on the humanity aspect of approaching a human being. A human being is a human being, no matter their class. I believe so.
Yeah, well, that's quite inspiring. So I'm guessing that in this book, it's Anani is her name.
Yes.
Yes. Some of those challenges that sort of that you just discussed, whereby she's discriminated by her own countrymen, and also she's trying to find a place in society, even though it's not her fault that she's coming from a country in search of greener pastures.
Yes, of course. Anani travels a very perilous journey to get into Mozambique from Zimbabwe. She went to Mozambique on foot. And what stands out with Anani is her courage.
Right.
That she did not want to give up. She wanted to focus. She faced challenges where she was stereotyped. And at that time, Zimbabwean people were regarded as street sellers, people who sell duvets, pillows. So there was not much respect for people from Zimbabwe, because they're coming from nothing. I think, as you understand, social status matter a lot in society. People tend to treat you based on who you are, what you have, which I believe is not the correct approach to life. But unfortunately, we cannot ignore that.
Yes.
So she faced stereotypes and people thinking that she's young. She was 19 years old. She's young in this new country. People assume she wants to do prostitution. And that time, Anani was not even focused on that. She was focused on raising money to afford to go to United Kingdom at that time. So she then decided to denounce her identity so that she can be accepted in society, because she felt that most doors were closed in her face because she was associated to a struggling human being who is undocumented. She didn't even have a passport. She only carried with herself her qualifications, and she hoped to get a job as a teacher, but the odds were against her.
Right.
Because of where she was coming from, the stereotypes. So she had to denounce her identity in order to be accepted in society, in order to fit in the society, because people in Mozambique at that time, they felt South Africa is more attractive. It's the Europe of Africa. So if you are South African, you are welcomed a little bit better than somebody from Zimbabwe. So she felt that because of the discrimination and the stereotypes that she faced, and the doors being shut in her face, she needed to denounce that, not because she wanted to masquerade under a false identity, but because she wanted to be accepted so that she reaches her goal.
Right. So I'm guessing you had a transition from being a nonfiction writer to a fiction writer. What's
Yeah.
that's like? What is it like? I mean, is it difficult, or is it like you just use the same principles to get to the end product?
I would say with fiction writing, I found it very profound
Mm,
and quite emotional,
mm,
because you are creating a story
yes.
which you are recollecting from what you have observed, or places that you've been, or what you have experienced, and putting it into a concrete story that makes sense. So you have to dig deeper, and that story travels with you. It's one book that I actually looked forward to what would happen in the next chapter.
Yes.
Whereas with the first two books, I had to research, because you have to be factual. You have to make sure that the content that you're putting in the book, they have good validity. They are reliable sources that you're using, and it's actually facts that you have observed. And whatever it is that is your opinion, it has to be within a certain standard,
Right.
so that it doesn't override laws or anything. However, fiction is fiction. You write anything,
Yeah.
you know, you have that comfort of writing anything. As long as the story is flowing, you are comfortable to drop in anything in it. That's the beauty of fiction.
Yeah. But with fiction, do you have a set of rules that you have to follow? Or is it like just you just write?
Fiction is a story. You are sharing a story. It's a voice.
Mm,
Um, so there are no rules. I felt that fiction does not have rules,
right.
because it's a story. And if you're creating a story, it can go either way. You direct it the way that you want.
Mm,
So I have to say I really enjoyed writing the fiction more than I did, because I had to, with the first two books, I had to ask myself, is this good content? Will this be received? Is this not too much? Is this not too little? But with the fiction, it's open.
right.
There are no rules. You write what you want. It's like Oliver Twist. You write what you want. It's like Shakespeare. His English was very complicated. In its complicatedness, that's how he stood out. Because it's fiction, there are no rules. You create your own. You create your own personality within the book, and that's what makes it more interesting. And you become more attached to the story. With that, I'm not saying that with nonfiction you are not attached. You are attached because you have passion. You're passionate about what you're writing about, but you also have to be careful what you include, how it will impact your target group, and whether it would have any bearing on any legal procedures or anything. But with fiction, no, it's just a story.
Oh, that's good. And what has been the reception for your book?
The reception has been good so far. The question that I've been getting a lot is was it you in the book? And I tried to pick my place settings. I tried to pick some of the place settings where I have been. Why, again, with fiction, there is some emotion attached to it. You describe environment, you describe the weather, you describe the dynamics of the society, you describe how you felt at that time. So it made sense that I write about places that I've been. For example, where I grew up. It also talks about where I grew up in Mutare. I grew up in a farm. So it talks about the farm life, the beliefs in the community, the clash between religious beliefs and traditional beliefs, or how they are intertwined. That then brings the beauty of the story because it feels so real to the reader and to the writer. So I had a lot of connections to it because I picked on the place settings and time settings that I've kind of had experience with.
Yeah. So talking about countries, it's funny because we both live in the United Kingdom, but we first met in Zurich.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that very well. It was funny how we connected because we both like writing, and there was another lady as well who was also a writer, and that was good.
Yes, awesome. So other than writing, I know that you do charity work with
Yeah.
Raising Better Children Global. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Okay, so Raising Better Children Global, it started in 2015. It was as a response to the high representation of cases of sexual abuse and exploitation that had gone on in the country without being reported. So I just felt, given my profession, I just liked working with the community, and I just felt that it is important to raise awareness to children, to report issues of sexual abuse, and for them to understand what is sexual abuse, what is exploitation, and what is involved, what are the procedures and the steps that you have to take to report, and what are the barriers, because we also have to look at the barriers which cause many children. If we look at the Rotherham case, most children came up because a few had reported. Even with the Jimmy Savile case, a few children opened up because somebody had reported. So there is an issue of being blamed for being sexually abused, or people thinking that you were not abused, you consented to it. So there are always those barriers that stop children from reporting. So the awareness raising was to sensitize children that no matter what, they have to report and gain support, because the long-term impact of sexual abuse exploitation is very, very hard, because some of the issues that we face in the society right now are as a consequence of what people went through in their younger years. So the more we talk about issues, the better they are to be addressed.
Yeah.
So basically, it's an organization that raises awareness on the importance of reporting sexual abuse and exploitation early, and also why this has to be reported early, because there are many things that evidence that can be drawn when things are reported early rather than later. But again, that does not hinder those who have not reported not to come out. So basically, it's to raise awareness on the importance of reporting sexual abuse and exploitation.
How can parents be made aware of teaching their children how to spot signs or even where to report it?
Obviously, there's NSPCC has programs that also target families, and obviously local authorities, they try, but I believe that it's an extension of the work that is being done in sensitizing children to report sexual abuse, working with parents, which is a very important tool. Because sometimes parents are so busy, in the UK, life is very busy, and it's easy not to notice that your child is withdrawn. It's easy not to notice that your child has changed their demeanor in the house, or their grades at school are going down, or they're having a different sleeping pattern. It's easy to not notice that because of the lifestyle that we live here, ever so busy, school runs, work, shifts. So it is a very important thing that I think should be incorporated in the coming years, to make the work more holistic.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so apart from raising better children global, are you doing any more writing or are you doing any more charity work?
Well, as an African, you always do charity work informally. Informally, back home, in the form of black tax, just supporting children to go to school. If families are struggling, you support. Yes. In terms of writing, I am still trying to let the dust settle with Hitherto before I conceive a new idea. But I'm starting to look at what would I write about next, because I always want to have some form of connection to what I write. Because it's difficult to finish writing a book if you are not connected, if you're not passionate about what you're writing. So I need to get to that level that I feel so driven to write about something, because I believe writing is a voice that is carried by a book through, it carries a million voices in one book. So not everyone is able to share their story, but a book can capture very important factors or components that affect people in one way or the other. So I need to be connected to a book. I need to feel driven to write and compelled to write something for me to actually start writing. So yes, it's in the pipeline. Maybe by the end of the year, I'll start writing another one. But for now, I'm still swallowing and letting the dust settle for Hitherto.
Great. And where can people buy your book or books, rather?
My book is on Amazon. If you just Google Hitherto, or it will come up, or Christina Chitenderu, my books will come up, or also contact myself. I can send a copy to you, a signed copy to you if you contact me.
Wonderful. Well, it's been lovely chatting to you. We hope to connect with you again next week for World Book Day. We're really excited.
That would be interesting.
It would be nice to hear you read out an excerpt of your book, just to give us a snapshot of what the book is about.
Yeah, sure.
It was really nice to catch up with you to find out about your book and to find out what you're doing in the community, and also to find out that when we can expect a new book from you. So we hope the dust do settle, and we wish you all the best with your writing. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Rudo. Have a good day.
Thank you.